no matter where you are right now, if situations seem dire, if you seem like stuck, there is always a way forward, and there are always opportunities. The handcuffs get bigger over the years, right? You get paid more, you get equity. It's really, you have more to lose. So figuring out what is right for you, what do you need, what do you want? I want to encourage you to adopt an abundance mindset and always ask yourself, where are the opportunities? And you'll find them.
Today, I'm going to be working with Limor, who is an executive coach, mentor, and leadership development expert, specializing in helping women in engineering and tech advance in leadership roles. She has this amazing background in software engineering and management and has transitioned into coaching, overcoming very interesting and compelling events herself. So please, everyone, thanks for watching, and please welcome Limor. And Limor, love for you to introduce yourself, and thanks for taking the time today.
Hi, Devon. Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, pleasure to be here. I think you did a pretty good kind of rundown. So my background is in software development. So my entire career I was in software engineering. I started as a developer and grew into management. And along that, I grew also a family. So I'm married, I have 4 children, and we moved also countries. So along the way, we also transitioned like locations. I used to live in the US up until 5 years ago. And what else? So I grew a passion, I guess, for supporting women along my career because I was one of very few, if not the only, woman in, different companies, different teams. And the more I grew in my career, the less women I saw. So I felt a sense of kind of like a life mission, I guess, to support other women, to help other women grow and excel. And that's kind of what led me to what I'm doing today. As you said, I'm coaching, I'm focusing on women and helping women in tech grow their careers.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So could you take me to, that's a big transition. Like, wow, traveling. I have a daughter myself, 4 kids. What? That's a lot there. And then managing a career while you're doing that, going into management and tech, and then making this decision to, wow, I feel a calling to actually help more women. Can you walk me through maybe what was that significant moment that you made that realization to live more maybe in accordance with your calling or your character?
Yeah, I think it wasn't overnight. It wasn't something that happened overnight. First, as I mentioned, I mean, it's part of my work, right? On my day-to-day work. Because I was so passionate about women, I try to do I could in my job, like with the influence I had, to hire more women, to help women excel. I mentored women pro bono, for many years. And I was involved in women ERGs, like with the companies I worked at. So definitely a sense like a passion for that. And what happened was that when we decided to move back, I live in Israel now. So when we decided to move back to Israel, I knew that my life is going to change, right? I mean, my kids will have to, they were back then like most of their life in the US. So they're more American than Israeli. And it was a big transition for them. So there's going to be a lot of change in my life. And one of the things that I realized was that I no longer wanted to continue with that same thing that, I was doing. And another thing is that I was working fully remote since 2016, and it was pre-COVID, so it wasn't that kind of a thing here in Israel. Most companies prefer people coming to an office. It was a combination of things. Like, I don't want to go back to an office. I'm fed up with corporate. Like, done that, been there. Like, I want to do something different. I'm already changing my life. Why not add another change?
Oh, wow.
And I also, and I also felt, Evan, that if I don't do it now, I will never do it again. Because when you're working and you're getting paid well, it's really hard to change. It's really hard. At least for me, it was.
Oh, wow. So it was that move. Am I reading that right? When you had that move, you realized if I go back to corporate, it's going to be hard to let go of the golden handcuffs. And
Exactly, yeah. And the handcuffs get bigger over the years, right? You get paid more, you get equity. It's really, you have more to lose, I would say. Um, yeah, so I felt like, well, if I'm not going to do it now, I may never do it.
Yeah, that resonates so much with me is I found so many people in their careers as they go into it, they just can't, they get stuck, right? They like, oh, when in 5 years, when I have enough money, I'll start pursuing my passion. But then they forget in 5 years, oh, now I'm making 200,000 a year. Now I'm making 300,000 a year. Well, maybe I'll wait another 5 years. And then that quickly spirals
Yeah.
into just going in retirement and then regret, right? Like, oh, maybe I missed out on what I was meant to do. So kudos to you for taking that step. And what is that looking like now? So how long ago was that? And what does that look like now? How many people are you helping? And
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't know exactly what I'm going to do, to be honest. Like, I knew that I'm going to leave everything and you and do
that's so
something
brave.
else. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
started consulting at first. Yeah. So it was 5 years ago. I started first consulting, and along the way, I mentored, and I realized, oh, I want to actually pursue a coaching certification. So I did that. And today, like, I mainly coach not just women, but in general, people in leadership positions. Um, and very fortunate to be doing really what I love. Occasionally, I do also workshops for companies on different topics. Like one of a very popular topic that I did a lot of workshops last year was about negotiation and persuasion, which I feel like is a topic that no one teaches us, especially people that like are in engineering, like in technical roles, who are not like salespeople or anything like that. And anything related to leadership and leadership development. And Women ERGs also run, Women ERG, like they bring me and I just facilitate several sessions.
Because I'm curious, what in that situation, what are you finding the pattern? Like, what's the most common pattern that you're seeing that you're helping people through right now?
Yeah. So I think so if I'm talking about women that I'm coaching, a lot of that is about what do they allow themselves to even dream of and think that they are capable of versus reality. So, and as people like, it's not just for women, but I see it more with women, a lot of limitations that they put on themselves on what is attainable for them. And also waiting for permission rather than just do something that they want. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Like, let's say you're a woman, you're working in, I don't know, you're an engineering manager and you want to grow into a director role. And there is no like specific opportunity right now for a director role. And, you just work and you're frustrated because like, oh, there are not opportunities and I cannot do that and, whatever. And we work together on figuring out what ways they can actually start growing themselves, even within the company, without actually getting a title. And I know it kind of sounds weird, but there are always opportunities to do more. There are always opportunities to do different things. And also about like being transparent with the company about what are their career aspirations, what they want to do. Maybe being less nice and
Mm.
more kind of, talking with their manager about, hey, how am I going to grow? And women, a lot of time, we want to please, we want to be nice. So, oh, it's not going to be comfortable for my manager if I'm going to talk with him about my aspirations to become a director because maybe he doesn't have any opportunity to offer me right now. So, less about kind of asking for permission and being nice and more about like, oh, that's what I want. And I'm going to take some proactive things to do, maybe finding some problems to solve that I can really make an impact and also like having proactive career discussions.
Yeah, that sounds so amazing and challenging. And so many things are firing off. So, first off, I respect that a lot because I came from a mom who is mainly like pretty much a single mom most of my life. And I saw her hit those boundaries of mixing that desire for compassion and agreeableness to confronting
Yeah.
social and cultural boundaries, right? Like, hey, I just want to help. I'm going to be here. I don't want to cause too much, stir the pot too much. And like you said, I've seen it a lot where it drives success is being disagreeable, right? And being able to not be rude, but be able to put yourself forward. And so, respect there a lot. And a lot of the women I've worked with in my career, the most impressive women I've worked, I've seen them navigate that line. I know personally that they've had some struggles with that. Like, how do they put themselves before other people? So, what do you do in that situation? What are some techniques, or do you take it from your personal life, or where are you getting this from that you are able to accomplish it? Because I'm bringing this, I want to tie it into your story. You even have it publicly of you applied for a leadership role when you were 8 months pregnant, that's really bold and really brave and has a lot of courage. So I'm just curious if you're pulling this from your professional, personal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wasn't that bold, to be honest. I mean, my husband was the one that actually encouraged me. I didn't even think it's possible. I thought, like, who is gonna even take me seriously? But I mean, I think to your question, Devon, it's based on my experience, but usually what I try to do when I'm coaching is not too much rely on what I did, rather than like, hey, those are experiences that I have. And I know that just doing a good job and waiting for someone to give you the permission, in most cases, it doesn't work. And I've seen that. I've seen like how I behaved in a way that sabotaged my career, and others around me, mostly men, like they were bold, like they were not afraid to ask for more money, for a promotion, for a leadership role, and they got it. So it's part of it is like from experience, and I know that, you know, what works and what doesn't. But a lot of that is about realizing where this woman is at, trying to open her mind, but then finding what is right for her. Because I always kind of, you know, try to get everyone that I coach out of their comfort zone in the way that works for them, that is right for them. So, for example, if I want to be bold and I want to ask my boss for something, okay? Like in my case, right? I actually approach someone who doesn't even know me. Wow. And offer me, hey, here I am pregnant, like take me. I don't have any engineering management positions. Like, this is scary.
That's really
terrified,
scary,
to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe I think that actually I had a client like a while back. She was afraid to ask for a day off. Now, that sounds to me, if I'm looking at it from my own eyes, like that's ridiculous. Like, you have days, you should take a day off. I mean, it's pretty simple. But I'm trying to really to put aside and say, okay, this woman is struggling with setting boundaries, is struggling to find time for herself. So the stretch for her would be to ask a day off. Does it make sense, Devon?
Meet people where they are, right? Sometimes it's even asking for a day off.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So for one person, it would be, I need to be brave enough to ask for a day off because I feel uncomfortable asking for a day off, because what it means, I'm not good enough, I'm not dedicated enough, whatever. For another person, it would be, hey, I go to my manager and say, I think that I'm underpaid. I think I'm contributing in that way, and my salary doesn't really reflect that. And I need your help to help me kind of close that gap. For example, for another person that may be, I really feel like I can give more and I can contribute more, and this is what I aspire to do, and I want us to work together towards building a plan for that and getting into a director, a VP, or whatever that may be. See what I mean? It depends on the person, what is important for them, where they're at, and what is like a stretch, but that's not gonna terrify them or break them, because we don't want to break people, right? Because think about it. I'll give you an analogy. Like, let's say you want to train for a marathon, okay? And right now you barely run 5K. So you have to stretch yourself, but you have to stretch yourself to the level that feels comfortable. If you are a runner and you run regularly and you run 10Ks, maybe half marathons, then okay, training for a marathon may look different for you. So a stretch should be really based on where you're at and what you can accommodate without sabotaging, because sometimes, you know, when we do something that really kind of shakes us, that can also hurt us.
Yeah, that sounds like a really
if
tough
it
line.
doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's a really tight line to walk, right? To stretch yourself and then
Yeah.
how to know capacity. And I'm curious, it's so interesting. There's so many books on these topics, but what you're suggesting here is so specific and customized to what the person is actually experiencing. And so I'm curious, has anyone come to you with like they got bad advice? Or what would you say is bad advice when someone comes up, or something generic that they may be getting advice on that you've heard and you have
Yeah.
to coach people out of?
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, about books. I love books. Read, listen to podcasts. This is wonderful. But the thing is, there's one thing about reading and consuming information, whatever, it would be, versus something that is coaching, like that is personalized to you and what you need. So first of all, that's kind of the difference, right? I mean, it doesn't contradict each other. I guess the advices that people give a lot of times come from their own personal perspective. And I'll give you an example first on a personal one and one for a client. So, personally, when I moved to the US, I moved to Denver. I knew no one there. It was a relocation for my husband company, okay? We moved with very small kids, and I left my job in Israel and I wanted to find a job in engineering management because that's what I was. I was a relatively junior manager back then. And it was brutal. It was so hard to find a job. Like I was on a dependent visa. No one knew this kind of visa. No one knew me. It was hard. Okay. Now, as I was struggling and I was like, what better days, worse days, people around me, like family, friends, they told me, Limor, why don't you just go take a software development role and then kind of build yourself up management? And I decided not to take that advice. I kind of appreciated that people were with good intention. But, well, that's not what I want. I want to continue my leadership journey. And eventually, I just pursued on what I wanted and I got my first management job. And it wasn't necessarily in the company that I wanted the most or in the technology that I wanted the most. And again, people told me, oh, what is this company? What do they do? Are they successful? Is it interesting? So I had to kind of sometimes tune out those voices and those opinions and kind of listen to my own voice and what I wanted. So this is one example. And another example, like I had a client that is debating between different career choices, okay, for her. Eventually, she's aspiring to become like a VP or CTO, VP of engineering, or CTO roles. And now she's on a junction that she needs to choose between like two options. One is more on the technical side, still kind of but technical leadership, and one is more more leadership side, less technical, but kind of being responsible for more people, more projects. And people read her like, oh, you should take this like more of a management side. But what she actually wants, based on what I sense, is the other thing. So I didn't tell her what to choose, but I just told her, you should first of all listen to everyone, but then really listen to your own voice and figuring out where do you feel like it's going to be interesting for you, you're going to be passionate about it, you're going to do what makes you feel good, and you're going to grow. And there is not only one way to get to where you want. So I guess what I'm kind of in a long answer to your question is like, people give advice that maybe is good for them or they think is good, but it may not necessarily be good for you.
So powerful. I think that's so important for everyone to hear, right? I thought, I'm a CPA, and I can't tell you when I was going through CPA firms how many people like stay until you make partner or stay until you make senior manager, but they were all partners with senior managers. They're going to tell you what worked for them, right? But
Yes.
I hear you. It's such great advice. So be careful on if the advice is actually resonates with your you authentically, and you have to do some of the self work there.
Yeah.
And that's where you come in, right? Is you're not pushing an agenda. You're not giving any advice. Maybe you'll give advice if asked or if you bring a suggestion, but it's more like figuring out what that person really wants and their passions and their desires and how they can get that, right? Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, I try to refrain from giving advices, but take into account, I mean, it's not black or white. Like as a coach, we're not there to give advices. I'm not there to tell you what to do. But sometimes people are lost and they need a perspective. So they ask me some questions and I try to help answer them the best I can. But I would really, I'm really trying to refrain from telling someone what to do. And like, especially when they need to make decisions that are really critical for them and important and will maybe impact their next year or two. It's not my place, even if I think, and my personal opinion doesn't matter also, because it's about them. It's not about what I think, it's about what is good for them.
So how do you help someone through that? So someone's stuck. I'd say you have someone to come in who's stuck, is trying to figure out what to do next in their career. How do you help them work through that self-work, or what steps do they need to take?
Yeah. So we try to work on different angles. Like, first of all, I mean, what do they like doing? What do they enjoy doing?
That would be cool, right? To do a
Right? I
job you
mean,
like.
because,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but it doesn't have to be. The thing is that, at least I'll tell you, I was conditioned to think when I grew up uh, that a job is there to provide for your family. Like, if you like it, great. That's an added bonus. You don't have to enjoy what you're doing. But uh, I don't think that's how it should be. It should be like it's not always 100%, right? We don't enjoy everything we do, but you should be in a place where you feel like you're actually doing something that is enjoyable. Otherwise, what's the purpose? Like to suffer and do something you hate. So at least kind of try to think about, okay, what do you, and even reflect on like what have you done so far? What did you enjoy the most? Like I had a woman that was in QA, okay, and she wasn't sure what to do next. I'm fed up with QA. I don't want to do QA. So we try to reflect back. What do you like doing? On what aspect? And we found out that actually, based after we talked for several sessions, like what she was liking the most is kind of leans more to a DevOps,
Mm.
kind of automation and like things like that. And then I said, well, have you thought about that? Like, what are you telling me? A lot of the things that you like doing and you did also took initiatives. It's kind of sounding to me a lot like DevOps. What do you think? And then I just open. It was like I opened a box for her. Like, oh my god, I haven't thought about that. So she started, and I thought, okay, go explore. What is a DevOps? Do we like it? Maybe do it. So, you see what I mean? So a lot of that is like trying to open your mind to even a possibility that exists to look at what you like. And also, a lot of times you have to think maybe a little bit long term and look at what are some role models you look up to. Like, for example, I knew that I wanted to become a manager when I was a very junior engineer. And I mean, not always it was super clear, but I can tell you that I had a manager, one of my managers, that I really aspired to become like him. I really respected him. I appreciated him. I saw what he was doing. I said, wow, I want to be like him when I grow up. So sometimes it's about having a role model. Like you said, like if you look at other, in your industry, like partners or whatever, I mean, you look at them and say, maybe that's not what I want. That works. So what do you want? Maybe try to look at different people and what they do and see what resonates with you. What feels like something that you would like to do. And maybe it's not in the near term. Maybe it's something that you need to build towards. And sometimes that can help you also figure out, oh, if I want to go and eventually become a manager and now I'm just starting my career, okay, I'm just an engineer. What I need to do in order to build those skills? Maybe I need to take on myself more kind of tasks that are requiring more communication with other teams, more working with different people. So, see what I mean? I don't know if it makes sense.
No, I mean, that's all top tier golden advice and not easy, right? It's like follow your passions, do things you like and that you're good at, make sure that you're leaning into that, figure out what you want. I can't tell you how many people I meet, and when I start talking to them, I ask them, what do you want? And the response, I actually don't know. I haven't thought about what I want, for a long time. I'm just trying to make money and that output. And then I really like what you said there about finding a role model that you actually want to model after that can help people find what they want. And then even the bridging. A lot of people I've seen come to me and say, I really want to become a leader in this space, but then they don't have they need a stepping stone. Like, oh, maybe you need to get this
Yeah.
experience or certification. So that's all amazing advice. And That makes sense. But you got to figure out where they're at. Go back to your earlier point, right?
Yeah, and if you aspire to become someone, I don't know, in the future, maybe you're like a manager and you want to become a CTO, okay? And there's a huge gap from where you're at. Then talk to people. Talk to people. Maybe reach out to a few people and try to get an understanding from them. Okay, what have they done? What worked for them? Get a broader perspective. So you can try to figure out, what they do and then choose what makes sense for you.
And so with that, what's been one of the lessons, either personally or that you've seen someone experience through your coaching practice?
I mean, for me, the toughest lesson was that I just thought that I need to do a good job and that's it. And I learned the hard way that it doesn't work. So I saw people around me, like, as I said, like being promoted and I was stuck. So I learned the hard way that you always need to be your advocate, right? To advocate for yourself and to know what you want, to be very proactive around it, and to strive for that and work with, a company or, whatever to advance yourself. And when at points in my career when I realized that that's what I need to do, it happened, right? I became a manager. We moved to the US. I continued being a manager. Then I wanted to be a director. That intentionality and being super focused about that worked for me, and it also worked for my clients. So don't wait for someone to hand you something. Just figure out what you want and start working towards that and get people along the way to help you, whether it's your manager, HR, mentors, sponsors, allies, whatever you need.
I love that. Yeah. Root yourself in your character, figure out the people around you who can support you, and then kind of strive for a calling or making sure you have the capacity to reach that calling. I think that's amazing. So how do you get someone to shift that mindset? I feel like that's such a countercultural mindset of, hey, I can't tell you, like, hey, work here for 4 years and then you'll get a promotion and then you move up to the next rank. But then people realize they get disillusioned. They get in there, and to your point, and I'm sorry, I'm empathetic, that really is hard. When you're in there and you work the 4 years and you do everything right, and then you realize there's no opportunity and you feel like you've wasted a bunch of time and now you don't know where to go next because there's no playbook. How do you get people to realize that mind shift that you're talking about from, hey, you got to take agency and be intentional yourself rather than relying on some corporate formula?
Yeah, it depends on the person. I mean, it's not, as you said, it's not always easy for people to change the way they think. I try a lot to challenge them about, like, let's say someone feels stuck, okay? They feel like they have no opportunity. So I try to challenge them. Okay, let's assume you're working, for 4 years and doesn't seem to be an opportunity for you. What are the opportunities that you have for doing something that you've never done, to bring value, to make a difference, to solve a problem maybe no one is solving? Because typically, in most companies, there is more work. I mean, at least all the companies I worked at, there is more work than people. Leadership is always needed. Leaders are always needed. A leader doesn't mean to be to have a specific title, but there are always problems to solve. So I'm encouraging people to try to think differently. Like, I ask them questions like, okay, you're saying you're stuck. You're saying there is no open role. Okay, that's okay. I'm not arguing with that. But what else can you do? What will make a difference and will maybe stretch you a little bit to do something you've never done before? And when I start asking them those questions, maybe they don't know. So I say, okay, maybe you can try to think about it a little bit and figure out. Maybe ask your manager, what are they struggling with? To think outside the box of, like, what opportunities you have within the company. And if you don't feel like there is any opportunity, where you're at, maybe this is time to think about whether you want to stay there or not.
Sure.
And sometimes, when I work with people, sometimes they realize that actually, well, maybe they're at the end of the rope at a specific place. And that's okay. It happens sometimes, right? I mean, not from bad intentions or for bad people. I mean, it just happens. Could be that they're in the end of the rope at a specific place. And I realize it's about to take a bold step forward and move. And it's really hard, right? I mean, it's really hard for people to make that, a lot of times, to make that decision that, well, maybe it's time for me to move on and do something else or work for a different company. So I need to step out of my comfort zone. I need to start maybe reaching out to people. I need to interview, whatever. And that's usually a tough decision for people to make, based on what I've seen, at least, especially with women.
Yeah, it seems so powerful, right? So I'm hearing like, I imagine, the donkey with visors on or the horse with visors on, and you're really trying to take them off and say like, listen, there's a whole
Yeah.
world out there, and maybe you're surrounding yourself with people who are in this little box, but you're trying to open it up. And that could be really jarring for
Yeah.
people. Like, okay, now you can see, but it's scary to go off the trodden path.
It's scary. I absolutely agree with you. It's scary. Even if you decide to stay in the same company and there are opportunities for you to do something that maybe is not written in your job description, right? But can really help you develop some skills. It's scary because, like, oh, what if someone is going to tell me, no? What if someone is going to be wondering what I'm doing that? So, yeah, it's scary. Absolutely.
Yeah, so having that
But at
clarity.
least you kind of realize that.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to
But
cut
at least you realize you have a choice. At least you realize you have a choice, because if you think like there is no way, I'm stuck, then you don't have any choice. But if you realize, well, I have choices, I just need to figure out what choice do I make, then it's a different question.
Yeah, like not making a choice is still a choice, right? Like deciding to stay is still a
Yeah.
choice, right?
That's still a choice, yeah?
I'm curious, and it's okay if you don't want to go on this path. I'm just curious, how do you balance those career ambitions with the personal and family ambitions? Especially like me, I just so to relate for a little bit. Like I'm very involved in my daughter's life, and it's been on the other side of it. It's been an interesting dynamic for my wife and I. Like, I encouraging her to go to her career, but then also making sure that I have the time to do like bedtime at home. And it's tough for me to talk to other men about,
Yeah.
hey, I can't take a 6 p.m. meeting. I want to do bedtime tonight. It's an interesting cultural dynamic, and there's sacrifices there to set those boundaries up. And you have a unique perspective of, I mean, it's an amazing journey, right? Of going through these tech leadership, also being a mom and raising such an amazing large family, and coaching and developing others through the process. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is a valid question that I think there is no one answer. I think you need to figure out what is right for you and unapologetically do it. So, and I'll tell you why. So, for women, a lot of times there is some pressure because society expects us to do to be great moms, to take care of the kids, to do a lot of things. And I made a lot of sacrifices in my career because when I started my career, I mean, working from home was not a thing. Like, you couldn't work from home; it wasn't possible.
Yeah,
So
5 years
you
ago,
had to
you
go to
couldn't,
the
right?
office. Yeah, but think about it even before
Yeah.
that. And it's like, for years, I mean, I came home like not before 6:30 p.m. Not before, even sometimes later. And yeah, I didn't pick up my kids from daycare. And that was a choice I made. And I knew that I'm making that choice. But I made that choice because I felt that that was the right thing for my career. And yeah, society may look, and I was like, to be honest, I was probably one of the only moms, if not the only, that didn't come to daycare to pick up the kids at 4:30 p.m. So you have to really figure out what's right for you. So what was right for me may not necessarily be right for you or for someone else. So figuring out what is right for you, what do you need, what do you want, and how can that work? Does it make sense?
Yeah, it goes back to that authenticity or figuring out what you really want. And I
Yeah.
think it's
And not
cool.
what others expect from you.
Yeah, and yeah, it's so easy to go into that societal expectation. Like for me, like, oh, Devin wants to leave early to go take care of his daughter. Like, why doesn't he want to stay late? That might be more important to me. While my wife, like, she fills that expectation of, sometimes she'll drop off my daughter at 8 in the morning, and then none of the other moms are doing that. And she'll like, why is she that person?
Yeah.
It's like, well, your career is important. And Evelyn, you're still a great mom. It doesn't change any aspect about that. Stop thinking about what other people think about you, and just make sure you're living in accordance with your values and character, right? So that's a huge, great message.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something. I mean, for years when my kids were very little, I don't know how old is your daughter. I mean, when my kids were little, I mean, I literally have almost zero time to myself. It was really difficult. Like I was either working or or being a mom, a wife, housekeeper,
Oh
oh,
my
you
gosh,
name it.
yeah.
Like literally, like it was all about work, work at home, like kids. It was hard, and you know, I don't know if I could do things differently, but I knew that those years eventually will pass and things will get easier. I try to hire help as much as I could, but some things you cannot outsource, right? You cannot outsource someone to be with your kids, to read a bedtime story or, you know, whatever. So, and those years pass and then they grow up. So, but I would say try to find some time for yourself, even if it's just a few minutes a day,
I like that.
just for you. So you can kind of take care of yourself, which I haven't done for years. So I'm kind of looking back and say, I wish at some point in my, I remember that I really wanted to work out and I tried several times to work out very, very early in the morning. Unfortunately, I'm not a morning person, so it didn't sustain. And then I remember one day I realized, okay, I am going to schedule like classes in the evenings, like twice a week. I'm going to Pilates, no matter what, doesn't matter. And kind of, I set that time for myself and my husband, my kids, they knew I'm not at home. And I put myself first. It was hard at the beginning. I felt guilt. I'm not a good mom. I'm leaving my kids at home because I'm going to Pilates. So I guess like you need to take care of yourself as well, not just home, kids, work.
Well, man, that's so powerful, right? And that's very, very important. Is you can't take care of others unless you take care of yourself, right? And you can't save others
Yeah.
unless yourself are safe. So I appreciate. With the time running out fast, I think I could talk to you forever. So I know you got to go. So
Yeah.
maybe I could ask a few quick questions just to make sure we land this plane properly. And I hope,
Sure.
man, maybe we can do this again sometime. This is really fun. I love getting to know you. So what are you trying to do in 2025? What's your goals for 2025 and what are you trying to accomplish with your practice?
So one of the things that I really want to try in 2025 is to combine one-to-one coaching with the cohort. Because I feel like I've seen that in the women ERG groups that I led, that there is a really powerful strength in a group. So I'm currently working on kind of thinking about a program that will kind of combine like, okay, you get a one-on-one coaching, but also we meet as a group and you build like, you build some relationship with other women that are in similar situation as you are, like, and also you kind of have some kind of group coaching sessions together.
Oh, I love that
So
idea.
that's
So you have
something I
people,
want to do.
yeah, people are
Yeah.
together. I love that. And is there anything my
Yeah.
network or my audience could do to support you in amplifying your mission? Like, what's a way that either me or other coaches or other podcasters or people on LinkedIn could help you get that across?
Definitely, I mean, follow me. And if you find my content valuable, or either to you or to someone else, share it with the world. Another thing I'm very passionate about is my podcast, From a Woman to a Leader. So I want to invite you and others to listen and also to share it with anyone you feel it's going to be valuable for.
Yeah, we'll make sure to put that all in the links and make sure to distribute it to everyone on
Yeah.
LinkedIn and everything too. So where can people find you and connect with you? I mean, you'll send me your stuff so I'll add it to the description, but what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah. The best way, LinkedIn. That's the best way. I'm there all the time. So just follow me on LinkedIn and I think you'll get to know me a little bit if you follow me
That's great. And then,
as a person.
yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's great that you're so authentic. Last one, and then I know you got to go. Any final words of encouragement for everyone? Like if you were to imagine you're going on in a shot, you're going to say like you're 10-second short. What's something that you would give to take away to everyone today?
No matter where you are right now, if situations seem dire, if you seem like stuck, there is always, always a way forward, and there are always opportunities, there are always things. So I want to encourage you to adopt an abundance mindset and always ask yourself, where are the opportunities? And you'll find them.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time today. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, Devon. It was really a pleasure.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I hope to stay in touch.